Verbally Effective with Ina Eskos is an interview-style podcast that intersects art, culture, politics, and entertainment with a Memphis focus. With producer Sana Marie. Each week, I'm joined by a featured guest with roots in Memphis. Verbally Effective delves into each guest's personal journey to uncover the incredible stories fueling their purpose, the highs and lows of their pursuits, and how through their passion, they are moving the culture forward. Be sure to follow Verbally Effective and Ina Eskos on Instagram. Also, download the Verbally Effective podcast on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Google Play Music. Don't forget to check out the website and submit to be a guest at verballyeffective.com. Greetings, and welcome to another edition of the Verbally Effective Podcast. I'm your host, your double E, Ina Eskos. You know, this podcast intersects art, culture, politics, entertainment with a Memphis focus. That's right. I need you guys to subscribe to the pod right now on all streaming platforms, including Spotify, Amazon, iHeart, all of your streaming platforms, wherever you get your pods, right? Also, subscribe to the YouTube channel, Ina Eskos. And I just want to thank the consortium MMT for allowing me to podcast in this wonderful state-of-the-art space. And I also want to shout out my team. Big shout-outs to Ari, Brandon, and, of course, Patrick and Morel. Let's get started because I have one of my beautiful sorors in the building with me. It's a lot going on with politics right now in the city of Memphis 10. And I have with me a partner at Bailey and White, PLLC. And of course, she's an attorney and a Democratic candidate for the Shelby County District Attorney. I'm talking about attorney Janika White. How are you, beautiful?
I am great. How are you today?
I am lovely. I'm so glad you joined me today. I know you've been busy, right?
I've been very busy.
Like, what does the day in the life these days look like now for Janika White?
Completely different than what they looked like a couple of months ago. So I used to always think that I was really busy before, and I've been telling people I was fake busy because this is truly busy. Every minute of the day, I'm trying to make sure that I'm putting it towards an actual purpose. Yes. So I'm living very intentional and very purposeful, waking up at 5 a.m., thinking about pushing it up to 4:30. But so busy that just my normal activities that I was doing before campaigning, I'm just not able to do anymore.
Oh, wow. So is it a good busy? Is it a different busy? How would you describe the busy now?
I would say different. It's not good or bad. It's different. I think that whenever you're going through a season of transition or change, or you're going towards a goal and you're really in that grind season, it's a time where you really do have to cut out all distractions, everything else that's going on, and say, this is my focus. And in this instance, I can't get an extension on Election Day. Election Day is going to be Election Day. Okay. And so what I have to do is make sure that every minute that I'm spending, it's going towards a purpose. It's intentional. But also making sure that I'm still having that balance with my family, with my friends, because my family is just such a big part of who I am and a big part of just my overall kind of, that's my way of decompressing is my family. Yes. So I still make sure that's a part of my day, day to day, if it's a phone call or just stopping by my parents' house or seeing my brothers or FaceTime. But it's about figuring out how to balance it and a big, I would say, big time management.
Definitely that, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Wow. Well, we're going to dig into the politics, but I want to start at the beginning. Where are you originally from, Janika? What part of Memphis?
So, it's debatable.
Uh-oh.
It's debatable. And the reason I say this is because I grew up right around the corner from Crystal Palace Skating Rink.
Okay.
And so some people say that's South Memphis. Some people say that's Whitehaven. Some people say you're Westwood adjacent. So we're just kind of in the middle because I literally grew up one street over from Crystal Palace Skating Rink. Okay. And so that's where I lived my entire life up until I went to college. And then when I came back home, I moved back in with my parents for a little while. And then I've been downtown since then.
And I'm glad you mentioned your parents. I recently hosted your campaign kickoff a few weeks back. And something that, really was ingrained in my mind is your relationship with your parents. Talk to me about that, your relationship with your parents and your whole family dynamic, because you had a lot of family there to support you at campaign kickoff.
I will say yesterday morning I woke up and I sent my parents the sweetest message, but it was basically thank you all for giving us the greatest gift ever, and that was the knowledge of God, Jesus Christ, because I realized in life there's no guidebook to life, and once you give your children that foundation, there's nothing that they can't navigate and figure out. So even if you didn't do everything right, if you've equipped your children with that, you've given them everything. And I just had really wonderful parents. My parents both were educators. My dad's a retired principal. My mom's a retired teacher. But they were just so patient and calm. Like, I've never seen my parents, argue. And so I just have really just loving parents who just have cared for people, have been selfless, and just taught us to always love other people and see what other people need. And in terms of my family, oh my gosh, I have the biggest family ever. But I love that part because we're actually close. We are a very close family. We do things together. We hang out with each other. We call and check on each other. Every year, Christmas Eve, we still go to South Memphis up on the hill to my Aunt Hutchie's house. And we're in like a 2-bedroom house, and it's over 100. I mean, it's so many of us. We just open up the windows, and we're just falling all over each other on the floors. But that is something that has just been such a huge part of who I am. Because when you have so many people, you learn to care for other people, and you learn to be selfless, and you learn to look out for other people and be concerned about what's going on, with the folks around you. So I just was really fortunate to just have a really, really loving family. But even more so from that, I was fortunate to have a family that expressed how important it was that we showed that same love outside of our family.
Definitely. I can tell, too. I can tell the love was in the building. Now, still kind of sticking on your upbringing, what was the young Janika into? Like, what high school did you attend?
I went to Central.
Central. Okay. Y'all deep over there at Central. Y'all proud. What were you into at the Central?
Oh, my gosh. What did I do? I was a part of LOR. I remember I did LOR. I didn't do like a whole lot of activities, honestly. I remember one year I decided, because I grew up with 3 brothers, so for a long time I was a tomboy. And so once I got kind of to high school, I said, I want to play basketball. Okay. And I did one year, and I was terrible.
You went hooping?
I was terrible. I realized I didn't know how to play organized sports. Mm-hmm. I was used to playing in my neighborhood. And in my neighborhood, I don't know what we were doing, but we were not doing.
Just trying to shoot it in.
Look, I don't know what I was doing in the streets, because when it was time for me to go out there and play at Central, it was not happening. Mm-hmm. But I've always just, I did do mock trial in high school, interestingly enough. Okay. I did Memphis Light, Gas, and Waters. It was Law Explorers. So I did mock trial. When I was younger, I was a cheerleader. I did gymnastics. I never stuck to any of those things, really. I ended up in choir.
Okay. You were the only girl.
Only girl.
I got you.
Only
I
girl.
got you.
Only girl. So as I got older, I kind of became it's interesting, the kind of like second mama to my brothers, even though one of my brothers is older than me and I have 2 younger brothers. But I tell my mama all the time, I was like, I have saved you so much heartache and drama and pain. Like, you should be so grateful that you had me. Like, I have saved you from so much through the years.
Oh, my gosh. I talked to your mom for a second. She's so proud of you. She is so proud of you. Now, let's talk about your college life for a second. Where did you go? And tell me what you majored in and about your experience there.
So I went to UT Chattanooga. I majored in English, and I had a minor in business administration. I joined Pledge Alpha Kappa Alpha while at UT Chattanooga Zeta Kappa chapter. And I had a great college experience. It was so interesting because my best friend, Missy, we went to elementary school together, went Doubletree together. Then we left Doubletree, went to John P. Freeman, Central, UT Chattanooga together. And our first 2 years, we stayed together and we took all of our classes together until it was time for us to split with our major. But then it was so many people in Chattanooga from Memphis that it was kind of home away from home.
That's what I'm hearing.
It was. But I tell young people all the time, college is, I understand the educational piece, but I think you can learn anywhere, especially now when you have Google and all the technology. You can get the knowledge that you need. But I love college for the experience of, it's the only time in my life, where you go to class a few hours, but you just manage and figure out the rest of your day on your own. you 24 hours in a day, and you figure out the rest of your 20 after you go to class for about 4 hours in a day. And so, that's an experience that I think everyone should have, because once you start working, you're working. You working.
And Janika, I'm trying to tell my 16-year-old this very thing, because he's debating if he's going to go to college, thinking, hey, I can just graduate and go right to the money. I'm like, but what about that experience you're going to miss out on?
It's an experience. It really is an experience. But I understand. But I really do. I'm starting to learn both sides.
Gen Z is there, baby.
Yeah, I'm learning both sides, though, because I do know a lot of people who have gone the traditional route, college, and once they've graduated, they still haven't been able to get, gainful employment that really justifies the loans and the time that you spent in college. One thing that I will say I appreciate about my parents, and even though they really stress, of course, education, but my dad always really stressed for us to just enjoy obtaining knowledge in whatever you're interested in. Mm-hmm. Because what I've learned is the more you obtain knowledge in whatever you're interested in, you figure out how to make whatever it is that you enjoy better. And that's how people become, innovators. And that's how people become, create things. And that's how people become millionaires and billionaires. Really? It's because once they really take the time to explore whatever field it is they're in, they say, oh, okay, I do radio and this, but you know what? We need to add these little things around this to make the sound do this,
Exactly.
But you have to do this to know that. You get what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am. Okay. So I heard you say you were an English major and minored in business. Where did the law come in, Janika? Tell me about how this law career started and why law?
So all the way back from high school, actually. And to be honest, it wasn't until I got older that I found out that my dad wanted to be a lawyer, and my dad would actually go to the law school and read law books. So now that I'm older, I realized that my dad probably kind of put this in me a little bit, and I didn't realize it. But it was always something he would say, oh my gosh, you always talking. You're going to be a lawyer. You're going to be a lawyer. And by the time I went to high school, I decided I wanted to try, and I did mock trial. Mm-hmm. And when I did mock trial, Cynthia White was the lady that worked at MLG&W. And she said, you're so smart. We need to get you a summer internship. And she called attorney Alicia Howard, who had an office in Whitehaven. Alicia Howard hired me in 11th grade.
Wow.
And I, right now, can't imagine trusting in 11th grade. It's like she was so courageous. And I just thank God for her, because
I'm sure that spoke to your maturity and your intelligence level as well.
Yes, but I mean, the way that she trained me and took the time to train me, because most people will say, "Oh, this is a kid, I got real work to do. I'm a lawyer. I'm handling cases," but she took time to train me. So much of how I practice law, the way that I write, all of that came from me practicing, like me being in the office with Alicia in 11th grade. And so I ended up staying there with her, and it just kind of, after mock trial, we went to the nationals when I was in 11th grade with MLG&W, and it's just kind of something that stuck with me. I decided this is what I actually enjoy. This is what I was put here to do.
Yes,
was
ma'am.
To practice law.
Okay. So you left UT Chat and went directly to law school?
I went directly to law school, UT Knoxville.
Okay. So how was the experience at their law school?
I really enjoyed UT Knoxville. The campus was, of course, really nice, but the people that I met there became like my family. So Jatrin and Terry, I remember meeting them one of my first few days. They were just kind of cliquish, and just so happened they were sorors too. I didn't know it. But by the time we left, Jatrin, Terry, Brooke, Kimmery, it was like these people that I had met for the first time became just as close to me as my best friends that I had for years. Yeah. And to this day are still some of my closest friends.
That is amazing. Now, I'm a transplant, actually, to Memphis. And when I got here, the crime numbers were staggering. And I would say still is. That was like over 20 years ago. And so for you to complete law school, say, hey, I'm going to come and practice that in Memphis, were you a bit hesitant? Were you ready? Were you encouraged? Like, I'm going to make changes? How was that whole transition, leaving law school to come back to practice in Memphis?
I was excited.
Okay.
I was so excited because the people, my family, everybody was excited. Like, we got a lawyer. And when I came back, I had a clerkship with Chancellor Kenny Armstrong, and I clerked for him 1 year. Then I clerked for Judge Bernice Donald the year following that. And following that, I worked for an insurance defense law firm, which is like a medium-sized private firm. And people were calling me like, Janika, I need your help on this, or this happened, and can you help me? And I couldn't help. Because at a firm, you can't take these outside cases. And I decided this is not why I went to law school. And so that's how I ended up with Walter Bailey. And that was 8 years ago, a little bit over 8 years ago.
Wow.
But I was always excited to come back home. It was never any hesitancy. It was never really any thought. It's always been difficult for me to even think about leaving Memphis just because of my family. Like, all of my family is here in Memphis. And because we're so close. I just really couldn't imagine. I just can't imagine being away from my family.
Okay. I got you. Now, talk to me about the percentage of Black women in law right now. What does that look like?
It is still very, very, very small.
Okay.
We just had the Barristers Ball towards the end of the year, and I actually gave them exact numbers, and I can't remember them now. But it's still a very, very small percentage. Even when you go and especially when you start talking about in firms and in higher positions, it's still very low.
And why is that?
I just believe that's just historically how things have been, just like the systemic changes and the way that I think that women are perceived in general. I still believe that women are still fighting to show that we are strong, that we can handle high-pressure situations, to really have people see the strength of a woman and the importance of our experiences and the importance of what we bring to the table. It's just really interesting that it's still that dynamic. And you also have to realize just for so long, in terms of where the power is, it's been with men. So a lot of times, unless we kind of power down, break those glass ceilings, then we're waiting for men to open the door.
Okay. Okay. What type of challenges have you had as a Black woman, as an attorney? What kind of challenges have you faced?
I would say being trusted.
Okay.
It takes a little bit more. Definitely being trusted within the workspace. And not just the workspace, even sometimes with clients. And especially with me being younger, especially when I first started. I remember having a client when I was working with Mr. Bailey. She came in there. She was so honest and transparent. She was an older lady, more seasoned. And she said, I came in here for Walter Bailey. And I said, well, I'm going to handle your case. We work together and I handle these cases. And she said, you look too young and inexperienced. And she said it. And
you look too young.
She did.
Inexperienced.
But I don't remember how I worked the situation, but I ended up working her case. And I'll never forget when she walked out of our law office, she went in Mr. Bailey's office and she said, that girl over there, she looked like a sweet little kitten, but she roared like a mighty tiger.
She looked like a sweet kitten.
A little sweet kitten. But and I think that's always kind of been a misconception of mine. I'm going to ask you how your family is. And sometimes clients don't like that. They want you to be rah, rah, rah all the time. And I try to tell them, I don't have to be rah, rah, rah all the time. I can be cordial with the adversary. I can know the adversary and we can be okay. But once I hear, all rise, something clicks. And it's different. And it's not aggressive. It's not mean. It's seriously like something clicks. And it's different.
Definitely.
And a lot of times clients want to see that different all the time. But it's like, no, I can smile. I hug people. I love on people. But once it's time for us to get to work, I got you.
Yes. Yes. Wow. And you know what, Janika, we have seen you, in your role as an attorney most recently, because it received a lot of press with Katarina Robinson, former senator. She was removed from her seat. It was a very interesting case. Can you tell us where we are with with Katarina Robinson right now. I want to call her senator again, but she's no longer the senator. So where are we with that case, and how was it navigating through that case?
It was a very interesting and difficult case because the statute in which she was charged under, the way that it was charged was unusual.
Yeah.
And by unusual, I had difficulty finding another case
To even compare it to
in the entire country. And so just figuring out how to navigate it to start with was very difficult. And so I reached out to Larry Lorenzi, who tried the case, and then Larry Lorenzi brought in another young lawyer, Matthew Gill. And all of a sudden, we had this team, and we were all looking at this from all these different ways. And we started off with 48 counts initially, and after some motions, those 48 counts, there was there was a superseding indictment, and those 48 counts went to 17 counts. Mm-hmm. And then right before trial, the government superseded the indictment, and that 17 went to 20 counts. And after we went through trial, the 20 went to 15. The 20, the judge dismissed 15 of the 20. We went to 5. 5 went to the jury. The jury convicted her on 4 of the 5. Mm-hmm. After that, we filed another motion. The judge dismissed 2 of the 4. And so right now, as it stands today, she's convicted on 2 counts. So it started at $600,000 being alleged that she stole or embezzled. After hearing testimony throughout, it was determined that none of the money that was spent came from grant funds, and that was per her accountant and the books that had been kept, and that's why the judge ended up dismissing those other counts. And so of the 2, it was alleged that she possibly intended to misapply $3,484.
So we done went from $600K to $3,000.
$484, and from 48 counts to 2.
Amazing. Bet y'all never seen anything like that, huh?
Oh no, that case is one of a kind. I'm not sure we will ever see another case quite like that one. Seriously, mm-hmm. That was very unique. And so, as of this past Friday, she was sentenced, and the judge gave her time served, which she hasn't served any time. So that's just to say, hey, you're not on. There's no jail time, so she won't serve any jail time. And so right now we're just exploring options as to, what we can do as it pertains to the 2 remaining counts.
Wow. Well, when they moved to remove her, I was so, surprised and taken aback because you all weren't even finished with all of the proceedings yet. Mm-hmm. So that's what was so interesting to me, mm-hmm. how that moved forward. Mm-hmm. I know you guys were shocked.
I can't say shocked. We're living in some interesting times where a lot of things that shouldn't happen are happening. And so it was very disheartening. It was very disappointing. Mm-hmm. I don't believe it should have happened at that time. But I can't say that we were shocked. Mm-hmm. Just based on history, based on what we know from our current legislators, based on what we knew from the people that we were going before, we were prepared for that outcome.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so, you used to putting up a fight. You're currently running for the Democratic candidate for Shelby County District Attorney. What made you want to run, Janika?
A couple of things. The biggest thing was just what you said, the feeling in Memphis and just how I've been feeling recently. This spirit of fear that's building up and just our young people and what's going on. I asked myself, what more do I have to offer? What else do I have to give? And then I thought about from where I am, what I've been doing on a day-to-day basis. You've been doing this work that you're saying needs to be done, but you've been doing it one case at a time. It's only so many cases where you can make sure your client gets mental health treatment. It's only so many cases that you can make sure that your client gets some kind of moral recognition therapy and some kind of rehabilitative services. We need to be doing this from the inside. This needs to be what the gatekeeper is doing on the front end. We need to be doing more to prevent crime because right now we are traumatized. We're traumatized. Prosecution is one thing, but every time you're prosecuting a case, you already have a victim. Mm-hmm. We've already suffered some form of loss. Whether it's property, life, we've already suffered a loss, and we're already traumatized in some form or fashion. And so I decided that's what I have to give. But not only that, I'm really uniquely positioned in this race because of what we talked about before. this is my community. This is where I come from. And not from where I come from, where I still am. You know, I've never separated myself from my family and where we are. You know, I tell people if I want to eat good on Sunday, I got to go South Memphis off of Kansas.
Okay.
You know, I don't have to go and get me some type of, I don't have to go get somebody to go and take me to Orange Mound or to take me to Fraser. You know, we need someone who's willing to be boots on the ground and be visible in these spaces in order to restore the trust that has been lost in our prosecutor's office and in order to be able to figure out what solutions there are and to really build those bridges and those connections that we need. It's imperative right now. It really is. And so when I thought about these things and I said, you know what, Janika, it's you. You know, I never thought about being a prosecutor, but that was the conclusion. It was like, it's you. It's you. The time is now. It's you.
It's you, baby, because, you know, we've had the current district attorney for quite a few years, and I really haven't seen a lot of strides made. Crime is still up. I think I recently saw something where MPD stated crime is down 18.6%, but I mean, where they pulling them numbers from?
Yeah, we don't. I will say this: I don't believe we have the most reliable data.
Okay.
I don't believe that, but yeah, I can't think of a time that I've lived in Memphis and I've feared, and I don't want to say feared, but that I had apprehension as I drove down the expressway. And that's a real thing that I, at night where I'm looking around and I'm very cautious, to see what's going on, what's happening, being really aware in a way. Like I just said, I'll pull up anywhere. And a lot of times I'll stop, and gas. Yeah. But it's like now I'm really having to be careful how I move. And maybe I always should have. I don't know. But it's just a different type of, we're living in a different type of Memphis right now. And I believe that if we don't start, and I don't like to use the word confront. My daddy used to always say carefront. But it seems as if things get worse, the more we seem to try to separate ourselves from the problems. And the more we separate, the bigger our problems get.
Yeah.
And so it's a time where we're going to have to turn around and we're going to have to start going back and we got to start carefronting.
Yeah.
We got to start hitting some of these issues head on, hitting some of these root causes head on. We've got to start toiling at this soil and plucking up these roots that we've gotten that have now given us all these bad fruit.
Okay. If you could give us what you think are the top 3, rooted issues, what would that be?
I would say poverty, lack of resources, most definitely education. There's been something that that we've seen just be an issue over the years in terms of how to educate children, and not just here, but nationally. And I would definitely say the way that we handle things in our criminal justice system, for sure. For sure. Right now, what we've been doing for so long is creating cycles of poverty on every level.
Because we're still high up there on poverty.
Right. And we're creating more poverty through our criminal justice system.
Okay.
By over-criminalizing certain crimes, by still charging certain crimes, by still charging all of these fees and fines, and causing people to go through the system for all of these non-violent offenses and things that don't prove to keep our community safer, which also takes resources away from prosecutors and police from focusing on serious crime. And so we've got to figure out, and we got to make a decision, what's important to us. Okay, we've agreed this is what's important to us. What do we need to change to get there? Are we willing to change some of these things that are so common to us? You get what I'm saying? Come to court for this, come to court for that, pay for this, pay for that. Are we willing to abandon some of our norms to be able to achieve this common goal? And that's where we are. And it's a decision that has to be made, and it's a decision that has to be made now. Most people don't know that the district attorney's office is an 8-year term, one of the longest in the country. And so most of our elected officials are termed out after 8 years total. And a lot of the terms are just 4-year terms. But that office is 8 years for one term, and it's not limited.
Unlimited.
It's unlimited.
Wow. Didn't know that.
Right.
Didn't know that. Now, you mentioned it's an 8-year term role. But for those that don't know, with the verbally effective audience, what exactly does the district attorney do?
Great question. The district attorney is really the biggest responsibility is safety in the community. That is the administrator of justice. That is the gatekeeper of justice. The district attorney decides who gets charged, if you get charged. Mm-hmm. So once a file comes in, the district attorney says, we're not charging that, or we are charging that. The district attorney determines what that charge will be. The district attorney makes the recommendation as to whether a person will be held on bond or pay a bond or not, or whether they'll be recommending detention. The district attorney determines whether or not a person will walk out of there have marked as a convicted felon, or whether you'll walk out of there with a possible misdemeanor that's eligible for expungement. The district attorney decides what plea will be given, if any. The district attorney makes the recommendation for sentencing. The district attorney goes before the grand jury to get an indictment. The district attorney really has almost unfettered discretion. So when you start talking about the mayor has the city council. You start talking the city mayor. County mayor has the county commissioners. When you start talking about the district attorney just answers to the people.
Wow, that's a very coveted role. A very important role.
It's a very important role. I don't know if it's very coveted.
Somebody always going to be mad at me.
I don't know how coveted the role is, but it is absolutely a very important role.
Very important, very important. Well, I have been seeing you, do your thing on your campaign. You have a lot of supporters here in the city, and I wish you the best because we need some changes around here in this city. I want to see Memphis thrive, and you mentioned overcriminalization. Just speaking on that, if you could kind of talk to the audience about maybe some examples of just maybe cases you've seen that was just so extreme, but that's going on here in Memphis, Tennessee.
I think Katarina Robinson's case is
number one.
It is one of those kinds of cases. But in addition to overcriminalization, a lot of times we see what we call overprosecution.
Overprosecution.
And so what that is where I know I may have the facts to fit a manslaughter case. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to charge John with first-degree murder because I want to try to force John to plead to somewhere in between. And I want John to not want to go to trial because if John takes the chance of going to trial and is convicted of first-degree murder, where I'm offering 7 years, John is now facing life.
It's really putting his back against the wall.
Right. And we see that a lot. We see people plead to a lot of things they still claim they may be innocent of. We see people plead in order to get out of jail. And we see just now overcriminalization, the term for that, and that's a little bit different from overprosecution. But when you start talking about overcriminalization, it's where you just see an abundance of laws that result in or can result in the loss of freedom. And we really, if you go back to kind of our founding fathers, the Constitution, that was something that they were aware of, they were cognizant of, and they were trying to prevent. But over the years, we've done nothing but added more laws, more rules that can result in the loss of freedom. And so now what we have is, we are the most incarcerated country in the world. And so now we're incarcerating all of these people, and then we're demanding these behaviors, but we're not taking steps to actually get people to the behaviors that we desire. Mm-hmm. The solution has been, you violated our social contract. You're not acting how we want you to act at this time. So our response is separate you. Again, that idea of separation. And so that's what we've done all these years. And we now see that it's not making people better. Not only is it not making individuals better, it's not making our communities better. It's actually damaging not only the individuals, but it's damaging the community as a whole. Because when you damage the individual, you now have damaged the individual's ability to earn a living. You've now damaged the individual's ability to care for his or her family. And now you've hindered the growth of whoever that family is. Do you see what I'm saying? And now you see this perpetuated over time. And now you have what we have right now.
Janika, if you get in this role as district attorney, what would be your top focus as soon as you get in? What immediately are you instituting, changing immediately?
So one of the first things that I would be changing, and I don't want to say changing, is the culture of the office. Right now we have an office that is a win at all costs type of office. I want an office that is community-centered and is people-centered. And you were there at the campaign opening. One of the things that I said was, I'm powered by the people, and I want an office that's powered by the people. And so the biggest focus, of course, would be that. Another big focus has been the transfers of youth from juvenile court to adult court and being charged as adults. In Shelby County, we transfer more children to adult court than any other county combined in the state of Tennessee. I would put more focus from our prosecutors on more serious crimes, more serious violent crimes, the crimes that harm us, not just scare us, but the crimes that harm us and cause trauma, those kinds of crimes. We're talking about rapes, armed robberies, murders. Those are the crimes that we really need to be focused on at this time. And we can't do that if we're prosecuting every suspended driver's license case. We can't do that if we're prosecuting every small possession of marijuana case. We can't do that if we're still having people come down to a building to address some of these things that, when you start polling the community about whether they're concerned about that, they're not. What they want to know is, can I go to the gas station without a gun being pulled on me? Okay. Can I drive down 240 without fear of a bullet coming through my window? These are the things we're concerned about. Can I go to sleep at night without fear of a bullet coming flying through my house? Do I have to jump up in the middle of the night for fear of some phone call that my child has been slain in the street somewhere? That's what we want. That's what we want. And so when people start talking about not focusing on some of these lower level offenses, it's it's going to be a free for all and you want to be soft on crime. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But we've got some serious issues that we've got to spend some serious time fixing and focusing on. And we've got to really put the resources into that. And to do that, based on what we have right now, we've got to make some really serious changes.
Definitely, we do. And you really broke it down for us, Janika. What's really going on in Memphis regarding the crime and the changes that are needed. We're going to get back into your campaign. Before we do that, I do want to get into a segment of the show called Eskos Pop Talk, because it is that time. And this segment is all about some of your, popular newsworthy topics. And what I thought would be best fitting is what's going on right now with attorney Ketanji Brown Jackson. Are you familiar with this beautiful,
I am absolutely
well-decorated lady?
I absolutely am familiar, yes.
Well, I want to know, what do you feel? First of all, have you been looking at the Senate Judiciary Committee this week?
So in and out, and I've been.
Okay.
And I was so disappointed. I was telling one of my close friends, I said, I cannot believe this is going on, and because I've been just running so much and going to all these different places and all these commitments, but I said, I can't believe this is going on. And I haven't been able to sit and watch it all day, because I really would have loved to sit and watch every minute of it. But I've made sure that I go back and I watch clips and I try to find out the highlights of the day. The highlights of the day, and just be able to share in the moment. And that's even more so than her responses. I wanted to be a part of the moment, a part of the experience. Like, I wanted to experience this while it's happening. Like, history is happening now, and I didn't want to miss it.
And look, it feels that way when you're watching from the House, and to see how they are really grueling her with these not important questions, very degrading. It's just, to me, very unprofessional what's going on. I don't remember this line of questioning with a former, Supreme Court justice that they were going to appoint. So since you've seen the highlights, what are your thoughts about how some of the senators have been handling the line of questioning? It's been horrible.
It's been disgusting. I would say it's disgusting. It's disgusting. But just like the comment I made earlier, where these things are disgusting but not shocking. And I was watching a clip of Senator Cory Booker, and he said the same thing. You know, he said, I'm shocked. And then he thought about it. He said, actually, no, I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked. Because we right here, a lot of people don't know, right here in Memphis, Tennessee, we have a young man, Andre Mathis, who just went before this very committee and for the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals because Judge Bernice Donald has taken senior status. And he has been vetted, and he was nominated by President Joe Biden. And he was just before, and some of the very same, what happened in his hearings was Senator Marshburn, very similar to what we saw her do. Very similar to what we just saw her do. She referred to Andre Mathis's a 10-year-old speeding ticket as, you know, she was concerned about his rap sheet. And it was something that was absolutely just unheard of. But those same type of just very, and it's difficult to call it disparaging or degrading because it's so, these microaggressions is what I like to call them. And they're becoming more overt to the point that they're not necessarily microaggressions at this point. But just that same type of behavior that we saw rear its ugly head in this instance. And when I just say that, oh my gosh, she was just so poised.
And the pauses, I love them. I love the pauses.
I mean, if you needed to sit and figure out how you needed, I mean, the comportment, if you needed to say this, I need to practice for an interview, or this is how I need to be when I'm dealing with a situation where, you know, and I don't want to say an adverse situation, but when you're dealing with these types of contentious situations, how you're supposed to respond. It was just, I was in awe.
I was too.
I was in awe of her.
Yeah.
And I just love the fact that the nation, the world, got to see this magnificent, just brilliant, intelligent, Christian, strong black woman sit here. And, you know, I hated to see her go through that for sure. That
Even
part
in front
was
of her
disgusting.
kids.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I hated to see it. But her response just magnified her. And I think it made us prouder. And it made me prouder. Because I remember when Michelle Obama, when she said, when they go low, we go high. And we don't like that. You know, we don't like to hear stuff like that. But we saw in the flesh.
The true definition of what that means.
We saw in the flesh what it means, but we also saw in the flesh the impact it has when you do that. We don't like to hear it, and it doesn't feel good. But the impact that it had would not be the same if she popped off. Wouldn't have been the same impact if she lost her cool. Right now, this lady is just, she's amazing.
She is.
She is just truly amazing. And you're talking about a role model and an example. Not just, I don't even want to say for young girls or young black girls. What an example she is of a human being. Of what we should be like as people. That's how great of an example she set by going high when they went low.
Yes, she did. Because we could talk all day about what we would have said. No.
No, you can't. But I was so locked in because she'll be the first. She
first.
will be the first. In 2022, she would be the first African-American female on the Supreme Court.
It's happening.
It's happening.
Yeah.
And for me, it just really hit home because a lot of people don't know in this race. If I win, I'm going to say when I win.
When you win.
When I win, I would be the first in the entire state of Tennessee. Not just Memphis, not just Shelby County. There are 31 districts in the state of Tennessee. There's never been a person of color as district attorney in the
Now,
entire
that fact,
state of Tennessee.
I did not know.
You didn't.
No.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's the truth. That's the truth.
Tennessee, what's going on with Tennessee?
I'm gonna tell you why I say it is interesting is because Mississippi has had several
Very. You would think Tennessee was a little further along than Mississippi.
Yeah, we are behind Mississippi in that regard. Yeah.
Well, you know what? You said that Katanji is amazing. I think that you are amazing, Janika. And I want you to let the verbally effective audience know what does, the completion of this race looks like. When is voting? How can people help your journey? What does that look like?
So my race, and I'm glad you asked that question because a lot of people don't understand this. We have a primary election and then we have a general election. Right now, we're in the primary. And in the primary, you pick a party. So right now, we're going to come up with a Democratic candidate. We're going to come up nominee, and we're going to have a Republican nominee. We already know that Amy Wyrick is going to be the Republican nominee.
Okay.
Right now, we're deciding on the Democratic nominee. And so I have two opponents. Election day is May 3rd. Early voting starts April 13th, and it ends on April 28th.
Okay.
We've got to get out in numbers. Because I just
we
told you
gotta
this is
get out
an
on that
8-year
one.
term.
Yeah.
That is a long time. We have an opportunity to make drastic transformational change in Shelby County. And if we don't seize this moment, we will not have this moment for another 8 years. And look, when I make it out of the primary in May, the general election will be August 4th, and that's when it'll be against the incumbent right now.
That's coming up, Janika.
Oh, it's approaching quickly.
Yes.
It is quickly approaching, yes.
So we got boots on the ground. How can people help?
So a couple of things. I really, 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 really need volunteers. We need volunteers. We need people. You can phone bank, you can canvass, and we need people at the polls working during those dates of April 13th through April 28th. And I've been telling all of my family and my friends, if you know me, knew me, ever knew me, I'm calling even the doctors I went to when I was a kid.
You better.
If you've ever known me, I need you off work May 3rd and working a poll and helping at the polls on election day and during early voting. They can follow me on social media, Janika White now. And you can sign up to volunteer at janikawhite.com, Janika White, WHITE.com. And on there, it says volunteer. You click on it, you can volunteer. And then, of course, money is always important in order to be able to get the word out. Just historically, a lot of people just don't think it's important to donate to campaigns, but it is because the best person for the job doesn't always win. Sometimes it is who has the most money and a lot of times who has the most name recognition, really, which comes by way of having the most money. Because if you have the most money, you can do commercials and you can do mail outs and you can have more volunteers. We have to get the word out of the importance of this race. And the other reason it's so important is because this is a part that I never talk about, but I feel comfortable saying it here. I'm putting myself out there.
You really are.
I'm putting myself out there. This is not comfortable. This is not comfortable, but it's necessary. And we have to start putting our weight and our support behind people who are genuinely about what we're about, who genuinely share our values, who genuinely share our experiences, and will take those experiences to seats as an elected official. We have this idea that because someone decides to run, that's like, oh, that's that politician, that's that whatever. We have to have discernment as to those people that are for us and those people who are running for the right reasons. And we have to put our weight and our support behind those people. I'm trying to say I'm one of those people.
I believe you, too.
And we got to get out there and vote.
Definitely.
We've got to get out there and vote. Historically, the ages of about 18 to about 45 just don't vote in Shelby County.
That's sad.
Registered, but don't vote.
We got to get them out there.
Yes.
Wow. Well, Soror Janika White, I really appreciate you for coming today.
I appreciate you.
And sharing your amazing journey on the Verbally Effective podcast. I really hope, people out here, our audience, is listening to the importance of this district attorney role and how imperative it is for you all to get out and vote. JanikaWhite.com, right, to go and volunteer?
Yes.
Yes, please, 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 volunteers, we need you to support Janika
And
White.
tell your friends, your family, it's an election coming up May 3rd, May 3rd, May 3rd. Janika White, April 13th through April 28th is early voting. Please tell your friends and your family. Talk to your parents, your cousins, your aunties. Talk to your people. We've got to get out and vote.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for joining me today on the Verbally Effective
Thank you
Podcast.
for
I wish you the
having
best
me.
of luck. Stay safe, stay motivated. I know you in it to win it, and I know you good in any hood as well. We all know that.
Yes.
So, support my soror, Janika White, for District Attorney for Shelby County. I want to thank all of you guys for tuning in to yet another Verbally Effective Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on all streaming platforms to the podcast, and also hit up that YouTube as well, Ina Esco. I will get back with you all next week for another episode of the Verbally Effective Podcast.